Welcome in to DRF Daily Racing Forms Betting Live. Not sure why I'm zoomed in here, but betting live stream coming at you each and every day, breaking down the day of action. Really not sure why I'm zoomed in so fully here. Wow, it is throwing me off. But we have a fantastic Thursday night set up for you with some Thursday night football action between the Ravens and the Buccaneers. The Ravens come into this one 4-3. The Buccaneers come into this one 3-4. Worth mentioning, the Ravens have held double-digit leads in all three of their losses this season. Just a bad time for John Harbaugh and Ravens bettors, as they have not really been able to complete a lot of these games. You can find everything that we are talking about over at drf.com/sports. That's drf.com/sports to get all of this data. All of the data for tonight's game is free. And if you're in Iowa, you can check us out at ia.drf.com, or you can download the DRF Sportsbook app on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store, and you can bet each and every one of these lines and player props that we're breaking down today. So without further ado, let's get into Ravens-Buccaneers tonight. Buccaneers are 1-point home favorites. The total is set at 45.5 points. It's worth mentioning right off the jump that 80% of the public is on Baltimore. I think the public is a little upset at Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. After last week, over 75% were on the Buccaneers at -13. There's absolutely no good reason why the public were on the Buccaneers at that point last week, because the Buccaneers had proven nothing to be double-digit favorites on the road against a Carolina Panthers team that, while it might not be great, have a serviceable defense led by Brian Burns. And honestly, they've been playing for a long time without Christian McCaffrey, so I don't know if that went into any reasoning why that line was so big. But the Buccaneers are coming off of a tough loss, and the week before that, another tough loss. The Buccaneers, since 1992, are 6-19 against the spread after back-to-back road losses. And really, just to put salt in that wound and really just make it hurt even more, both of them, they were big favorites, and they just could not come through. So now they come into this game, this Thursday night game, 3-4, and are essentially in a must-win type of scenario. You're sitting in the AFC South. It's not a great division, so you could probably lose this game and still win the NFC South. But then your seeding is going to be whack. If they're the 4th seed, I don't like their chances against a wild card team. But they're playing against a Baltimore team that's coming off of a 23-20 win against the Cleveland Browns. It was another potentially blown double-digit lead in that game, but the Ravens came back late, won it. But they're 2-9 against the spread, dating back to last season after a home game. And so it's kind of an interesting breakdown here. Buccaneers, worth noting, 0-5 against the spread over their last 5, 1-4 straight up. Ravens, 4-3. I believe they're 0-3-1 over their last 4 against the spread. So both of these teams really looking to pick up the pace and get some wins against the spread for the bettors. Tampa's been struggling this season, that's no doubt. Baltimore is 12th in DVOA. That is the best of the Panthers, Steelers, and Ravens. The Ravens have the best DVOA on defense. And so it's been a struggle for the Buccaneers to provide protection for Tom Brady. It's been a struggle for them to get their run game going. It's been a real struggle offensively in all facets. Mike Evans had that terrible drop last week. So the Bucs have their work cut out for them against a top 12 defense in the Baltimore Ravens tonight. So it'll be interesting to see how the Buccaneers respond to that. And I think I'm going to have to go the Ravens +1 in this game, as I know an overwhelming majority are on the Ravens. But I think the money's on the Ravens as well. Bucks got up to -1.5 at one point, and it quickly dropped right back down to Ravens +1. So it's hovering around it. There hasn't really been any movement either way, so there isn't money swaying this line either way. And it's extremely important because Tampa Bay will be without their starting safety, Antoine Winfield, and they will be without Sean Murphy-Bunting and Carlton Davis, 3 big-time contributors in that secondary. And this is a Ravens team that can throw the ball pretty well and make you hurt in the passing game. It's the running game that hasn't really been able to take off this season outside of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson this year has been just averaging 72 yards per game, 9.4 rushes a game, and we'll get into his player props in just a little bit. But my pick for this game is the Ravens +1. Unfortunately, I have to ride with the public, but I just don't see a way that the Buccaneers, even though they're at home, can pull out this win on a short week after deflating losses. I mean, maybe it's the bounce back spot they need, but also the Ravens are in the same type of scenarios as what the Bucs are. I think the Ravens are the better team. Ravens really 3 fourth quarter meltdowns away from being undefeated. So let's break down some player props, folks. Tom Brady, his over-under for pass yards is set at 279.5, right? That's just way too high if you're asking me. My gut initially told me hit the over on this. Tom Brady's going to hit that. But then I took a second and I looked at the DVOA of the Ravens defense. I see what they average so far this season. I see what Tom Brady's been averaging so far this season. He has hit that over in 3 of the last 4 games. He even hit it last game when the Buccaneers could only muster 3 points. But on average, the Ravens defense allows just 261 pass yards. Tom Brady averages just 266 pass yards per game. So you put those 2 and 2 together. I mean, this Baltimore secondary allows almost 7 yards per completion, but Tom Brady just hasn't really been able to stretch the field and push it down at all. So I'm going Tom Brady under 279.5 pass yards, and I think it pairs well with my second one. I think the Tampa Bay rushing attack will get something going tonight, and that's where we're going to break down the Leonard Fournette over-under. He's at 50.5 pass yards, but I think Tom Brady will get really close to that 279.5 pass yard mark, but I don't think he'll have enough in the tank to get over, and I think this Ravens defense will be able to put a little bit of pressure on him and either force short drives with turnovers or just won't let him, get that many pass yards. Breaking down Leonard Fournette over-under, he's set at 50.5 rush yards. He averages just 3.5 yards per carry. And overall, the Tampa Bay rushing attack is just completely stagnant. You see it there. They average 21 attempts per game, just 64 yards per game. That's just 3 yards per carry. But this is a Baltimore rush defense that isn't that great. They allow over 100 yards per game, and they're in the bottom half of the league in yards per carry, allowed at 4.5. So Leonard Fournette and the Buccaneers cannot talk. And the Buccaneers rushing offense just has not been that great this season. But I think there's an opportunity here for them to get something going. At 50.5 rush yards, it's an attainable goal. As Leonard Fournette, he averages 3.5 rush yards per carry. He would just need 14 carries in order to reach that threshold. And he's gotten 14 carries in a few games this season. And by a few games, I believe more than half. And he's gone over 51 yards in 4 of 7 games so far this season. They're not afraid to give him the load. They're not afraid to keep him running. And I think this will be a relatively close game that might see the Buccaneers rushing it late into the 4th quarter. And because of that, I think Leonard Fournette will get the opportunities and he'll get over 50.5 rush yards. And it might be an inciting game in the Buccaneers kind of finding a rushing attack because just to call it lackadaisical, to call it lethargic, to call it anemic, all adjectives that correctly describe what this Tampa Bay rushing attack has been. And last but not least, Lamar Jackson, his over-under pass plus rush yards is set at 274. I'm all over the over, and I might be stupid for thinking that. But Lamar Jackson hasn't been playing well the last couple of weeks. He was on a complete MVP pace, MVP tear to start the season, just absolutely obliterating defenses with his throwing, with his running. And then over the last few games, he has not looked the same. There's going to be a lot of things that have to go into this for Lamar Jackson to come through and pick up this, to get the over 274.5 pass plus rush yards. But he has half of it essentially all nailed down. He averages 72 rush yards per game, nearly 10 rushes per game as well. 9.4 rushes per game is what Lamar Jackson averages. His rushing, his passing numbers aren't necessarily there. Averages less than 200 yards per game, averages 190 yards per game on 28 attempts. That's 6.7 pass yards per completion. But But the Buccaneers are missing 3 key secondary players in Antoine Winfield Jr., Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Carlton Davis. That's a huge loss to this Buccaneers pass defense, folks. And I think Lamar Jackson is going to take advantage of it. We've talked about, is this kind of a bounce back spot for the Buccaneers? I think the Ravens are in the same spot. They're 4-3. They're sitting nice in the AFC North. But this is a win you kind of really want, especially in prime time, especially for Lamar. The talk on him has gone away. All the talks about, is he going to be worth that new contract? He should have just signed that extension in the offseason. I mean, based off of the first 3 games, we were saying that they were going to have to pay him $500 million. And now all of a sudden they're saying, well, we'll leave it. Lamar can control the narrative with a good game tonight, and I think he knows that. Lamar Jackson is going to go out. He's going to pass all over this banged-up Buccaneers secondary. He's going to pick up the win on the road, and he's going to run all over them too. This is a Buccaneers rush defense that allows 4.4 yards per carry. They're 16th in the league in yards per carry allowed. Not much better than the Ravens. And Lamar Jackson's going to tear him up, averages over 70 yards per game. The question is, we're talking on averages, can Lamar pass for 202 yards? The answer, I think, tonight is going to be yes, mainly because Tampa Bay is missing a lot of key guys in that secondary. So thank you so much for tuning in to DRF Daily. Before we get up on out of here, boom, we're going to break down our best bets. We're on Ravens +1. We're going with the public. 80% of the public is on the Baltimore Ravens. Give me Baltimore. Tom Brady under 279.5 pass yards. Going against my gut here, folks, but sometimes my gut leads me astray. Numbers tell me it should go over, but just the way this team's been playing, they're banged up. I don't know if Tom Brady has it in him. He's going through a divorce, all that good stuff. Leonard Fournette over 50.5 rush yards. This isn't a great rush defense of the Ravens, and I think this also plays into the fact of Tom Brady going under. Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich, I think they understand that they might be able to get some yards in the rushing department tonight against a bottom half rush defense. They allow 4.5 yards per carry. Give me Leonard Fournette over 50.5 rush yards. And Lamar Jackson, this is my bold pick of the night, over 274.5 pass plus rush yards. He's going to get his on the ground. Can he get his through the air with a banged up Tampa Bay secondary? I think he can. So thank you so much for tuning in to DRF Daily, DRF Sportsbooks betting live stream. We're coming at you every single day that there is sports, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And when I say sports, I mean football. Sorry, other sports. Maybe we'll have some World Series specials coming up. But thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow breaking down some Friday games, breaking down some Saturday college football action. You do not want to miss that. We have a lot of free games coming up on the docket for Saturday college football action. Until then, my name's Jack Fitzpatrick. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the above, folks. We're at DRF Sportsbook. Have a profitable Thursday.